Imagine that the key to wealth has been right in front of your eyes all your life, yet you never noticed it. What if I told you that the Bible is a true guide on how to create prosperity? Yes, that's right. The words that many people associate with spirituality also carry secrets that can transform your financial life. And believe it or not, some of the wealthiest people in history followed these principles. Now, if you think money is something dirty or that wealth is only for the lucky, I need you to do one thing: keep an open mind. Because what I'm about to show you could change everything. Have you ever thought about how different your life could be if you just believed in yourself more? Most people live waiting for something to happen first before they start believing. They say, if I had money, I would invest; if I had opportunities, I would try; if I knew the right people, I would get there. But this way of thinking is completely wrong. And do you know why? Because the world doesn't work that way. The truth is, belief comes before achievement. I have seen this happen countless times. Ordinary people, with no apparent advantage, completely transforming their lives simply because they decided to believe. But I've also seen talented and capable people wasting their potential because they doubted themselves. So what separates these two types of people? Faith. In the Bible, in Mark 11 verse 24, it is written, "Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." This is not just a religious teaching, it is a universal law. Everything you desire already exists for you, but first, you must believe. And when I say believe, I'm not talking about superficial faith, but rather a deep, unwavering conviction that doesn't depend on external circumstances. Now, answer me this: how many times have you had a dream, but gave up on it because it seemed too big? How many opportunities have you missed because you thought you weren't capable? How many times have you self-sabotaged, thinking that wealth, success, and abundance were meant for others, not for you? If this has happened to you, know that I understand. Because I've been there. I was just a simple firefighter earning little money and living a mediocre life. I didn't have an advanced education, I didn't have connections, I didn't have any special skills. And for many years, I believed my reality would never change. But then something happened. I came across a book that said something very simple but very powerful: if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hands. That hit me like a shock. Because, up until then, I thought my life was limited to the circumstances around me. But what if that wasn't true? What if, instead of waiting for life to give me something, I started acting as though I had already received it? That's when I did something that changed my life forever. I started visualizing myself as a rich person. Even though I didn't have a penny to my name, I started behaving as though I was already successful. I didn't go out spending money I didn't have, but I started thinking and acting differently. I started seeking knowledge, studying people who had already achieved what I wanted. And little by little, my reality began to change. The human mind is powerful. The salary I was receiving at that time was about £200 a month, which would be approximately 41,000 Sri Lankan rupees, enough to cover only the basic living expenses. But from that small starting point, I began to create a completely different life. Scientists have already proven that the brain cannot distinguish between something you imagine and something that really happens. In a study at Harvard University, researchers discovered that athletes who merely imagined training their muscles showed nearly the same level of muscle growth as those who actually trained. Now think about this in relation to money. If you constantly see yourself as poor and limited, how do you think your brain will react? It will seek to confirm that reality. But if you begin to see yourself as a prosperous person, your mind will find ways to make that a reality. Now, you might be thinking, "But Bob, I've already tried to believe, I've tried to visualize, and nothing has changed." And my question to you is, did you truly believe? Or deep down, did you still have doubts? Because that's what makes all the difference. If your belief is wavering, your results will also waver. But if you hold firm to a strong belief, the results will come. So, I want to challenge you to something. For the next 30 days, choose a financial goal that seems impossible to you. Something you really want, but that today feels out of your reach. And every day, when you wake up and before you go to sleep, close your eyes and imagine that you have already achieved that goal. See the details. Feel the emotion of having already succeeded. Act throughout the day as if it were already a reality. And after 30 days, tell me what has changed. Believe me, you have far greater power than you think. But first, you need to accept this truth. Because the moment you truly start believing, opportunities will start appearing. And then, you will see with your own eyes that everything you've always wanted was already waiting for you. It just needed you to believe first. Money, just like energy, needs to flow. When you hold onto it too tightly, clutching every penny out of fear of losing it, you stop that flow. Have you noticed how some of the richest people in the world are also the most generous? This is not a coincidence. It's a law. The Bible says in Proverbs 11 verse 25, "A generous soul will prosper, and he who refreshes others will himself be refreshed." This means that, to receive more, you must first give. Does that sound contradictory? Maybe. But it is precisely this contradiction that prevents many people from achieving true wealth. They say, "When I have money, I will help others." But it's actually the opposite. First, you help, and then you receive. Let's be realistic. Many people don't donate because they are afraid of running out. Their thinking is, if I'm already struggling financially, how can I give anything? But here's the secret. You don't need to wait until you have millions to be generous. Generosity is not about the amount, it's about the mindset. You can start small. It could be offering your time, helping someone without expecting anything in return, or investing in your knowledge and then sharing it with others. What matters is the act of giving. I clearly remember a time in my life when I was completely broke. I had nothing. I lived off a modest salary, deep in debt, with no hope for a better future. It was during this time that I met a man who changed the way I thought about money. He asked me, "Bob, what would you do if you had $1 million today?" I answered him without thinking, "Oh, I would help many people." By the way, $1 million is approximately equivalent to 800,000 British pounds, or in written form, 800,000 British pounds. Then he looked at me and said, "If you can't give $10 now, why do you think you'd give $1 million later?" Those words hit me like a punch to the stomach. He was right. Generosity doesn't come from abundance, it comes from habit. It reminded me of a story about the famous billionaire, John D. Rockefeller. When he was young, he earned just a few cents delivering newspapers. But even with that minimal income, he set aside 10% to donate. He did this religiously. Over time, his wealth began to grow, and he continued to donate. By the end of his life, Rockefeller had donated over $500 million, which is roughly equivalent to about £4.2 billion. A coincidence? I don't think so. And before you think, "But Bob, what if I give and never receive anything in return?" I ask you, have you really tried to practice this principle? True generosity doesn't come with expectations. You don't give because you want something back. You give because you know this is the way to keep the flow of prosperity going. It's a matter of faith. Just like a farmer plants a seed and trusts the harvest will come, you have to trust that what you plant in others' lives will return to you. But here's the part many people don't understand: the return doesn't always come in the way you expect. Sometimes you help someone financially, and instead of money, you receive an incredible opportunity. Or you do someone a favor, and years later that person connects you to a big business deal. The universe has its own ways of balancing things. You don't need to worry about the how. Just trust the process. Now, I want you to do an experiment. For the next 7 days, practice generosity in some way. It could be donating a small amount to a cause you believe in. It could be helping someone with your time or knowledge. It could be simply offering words of encouragement to someone who needs it. But do it with an open heart, expecting nothing in return. Then, watch what happens in your life. The secret to wealth isn't in accumulating, but in sharing. Because the more you give, the more room you make to receive. And believe me, the universe always rewards those who contribute to the well-being of others. Are you ready to take that first step? Have you ever wondered why some people win millions and still end up broke? and why others, who started with little, manage to build fortunes and keep their wealth for generations. The answer isn't in how much you earn, but in how much you keep and multiply. The difference between a millionaire who stays a millionaire and one who loses everything is simple: financial discipline. Proverbs 21 verse 5 teaches us, "The plans of the diligent lead to profit, as surely as haste leads to poverty." This means that wealth doesn't come by chance, but through strategy, patience, and control. Now, look at your life. How have you been handling your money? Do you really know where it's going, or do you just spend without thinking? If you don't have a plan, you're already planning to fail. I know what you might be thinking right now. Bob, I don't earn enough to worry about this. But let me tell you a secret: it doesn't matter if you're earning £1,000 a month or 100,000, if you don't know how to manage what you have now. When you earn more, the problem will just get bigger. That's why so many people who win the lottery lose everything in a few years. They never learned how to handle money. And without this knowledge, any fortune will slowly fade away. I learned this the hard way. When I started earning money, I felt invincible. I went from a modest salary to a high income in just a few years, and I thought this would never end. Then I started spending as if there was no tomorrow. Expensive cars, luxury travel, extravagant dinners. After all, I could afford it, right? Wrong. Money has a curious way of disappearing when you don't have control over it. Before long, I found myself in debt. Yes, I, Bob Proctor, was on the verge of bankruptcy. It was a wake-up call. But it was also the best lesson I could have learned. It was at that moment that I realized that wealth is not about how much you earn, but about how much you keep and multiply. If you truly want to be wealthy, you need to master your money. And this starts with 3 simple but incredibly powerful habits. First, pay yourself first. This means that before you pay bills, before you spend money on anything, you set aside a portion of your money to invest in your future. The world's greatest investors do this. Warren Buffett started with small amounts, but he always set aside money to reinvest. Over time, this became billions. And if he can do it, so can you. Second, avoid unnecessary debt. Debt is a modern trap that ensnares millions of people. Have you noticed how the system is built to encourage you to take loans and pay in installments? The world wants you to stay in debt because then you're always stuck in a cycle of working just to pay bills. But you don't have to live like this. Every time you think about buying something, ask yourself, do I really need this now? If you don't need it, wait. This simple question can save your financial freedom. Third, have a clear financial plan. Great empires aren't built without planning. The same goes for your financial life. You need to know exactly how much you earn, how much you spend, and where your money is going. It's not enough just to try to save. You need specific goals. Do you want to build an emergency fund? Do you want to invest? Do you want to buy property? All of this requires a plan. And when you have a plan, you have control. And when you have control, wealth becomes inevitable. Now, I'm going to challenge you. For the next 30 days, write down every penny that leaves your pocket. Every coffee, every purchase at the supermarket, every unnecessary expense. At the end of the month, look at this list. You'll be shocked at how much money just disappears without you realizing. This simple exercise can change your financial life forever. The truth is, you have 2 choices: either you master your money, or it masters you. If you continue without control, you'll always be chasing it, always be worried, and always be a slave to your own income. But if you decide to take control, you can create the life you've always dreamed of. Are you ready for this change? If you want to know what your life will be like in 5 years, look at the people you spend most of your time with today. It may be uncomfortable to admit, but it's a fact. We become like the people we surround ourselves with. If you're surrounded by negative people, who complain about everything and always say it's impossible to become wealthy honestly, it's only a matter of time before you start thinking the same way. If you surround yourself with people who dream big, believe in success, and are willing to grow, you will be pulled up along with them. Proverbs 13 verse 20 says, He who walks with the wise grows wise, but a companion of fools suffers harm. This means that your life is a direct reflection of the people you choose to be around. Think about it: if you spend time with 5 successful, disciplined, and goal-oriented people, you will become the 6th. But if your friends are people who are satisfied with what they have, who lack ambition, and who live with a scarcity mentality, guess what? You will become like them too. Now, try a quick test. Take a piece of paper and write down the names of the 5 people you spend the most time with. They don't have to be just friends, they can be family members, work colleagues, anyone you spend a lot of time with. Now, next to each name, write the key traits of those people. Are they motivated? Are they grateful? Do they have ambitions? Or are they negative? Do they complain about everything? Do they think money is a bad thing? What you see on this list is exactly what is influencing your life. I remember well when I started my journey towards financial freedom. At first, I was still surrounded by people who didn't believe in success. I would hear things like, "This is not for us, rich people only get rich by exploiting others, money doesn't bring happiness." These words seemed harmless, but little by little, they began to shape my worldview. I started to question myself: am I dreaming too big? Will I never get out of this life? But then something changed. One day, I was invited to a lecture by a successful entrepreneur. He talked about mindset, about the importance of believing in your potential, about not settling for mediocrity. But what really hit me was when he said, if you want to change your life, you need to change your social circle. That hit me like a punch in the stomach. I realized that I would never get rich while still being surrounded by people who didn't believe that it was possible. It was then that I made a radical decision. I began to distance myself from those who only complained about life and sought to be around people who thought big. I started attending events, reading books by great minds, watching lectures by people who had achieved what I wanted. And you know what happened? My mindset changed completely. I began to see opportunities where I used to see obstacles. I began to act differently. And, of course, results began to show up. Now, I know it can be hard to distance yourself from certain people. Maybe they've been friends for years, maybe they are family. But understand one thing: you don't need to cut them out of your life completely. What you need to do is limit your exposure to negative influences and, at the same time, increase your contact with people who can lift you up. And if you're wondering, "But Bob, I don't know any successful people. How do I surround myself with those people?" The answer is simple: start with what's available to you. Read books by successful people, watch videos by those who have already achieved what you want, attend events, take courses. The knowledge you consume is a form of companionship. If you spend more time learning from brilliant minds than listening to negative opinions, your mindset will change, and over time, your reality will change too. I remember when I first attended that entrepreneur's lecture, the ticket price was around £500, which is approximately 5,000 Algerian dinars, or 5,000 Algerian dinars written out in words. At the time, it felt like a big amount to me, but it was the first investment I made in my mind, and it truly changed everything. Let me challenge you. Over the next 7 days, try to minimize your contact with negative content and people. Instead, consume only information that adds value to your life. Read about prosperity, a winning mindset, and financial strategies. Then tell me, how has this affected your way of thinking? What has changed in your perception? The truth is that wealth begins in the mind. And your mind is shaped by the environment around you. So, choose wisely the people and content you allow into your life. Because in the end, you will always be a reflection of what surrounds you. The only question is that reflection leading you to where you want to go? What you say about yourself and about your financial life might be defining your future without you realizing it. Every day, without even noticing, people sabotage their own lives with the words they choose. Have you ever heard someone say things like, "Money is hard to earn, I will never get out of this situation, rich people only get rich by exploiting others, life is unfair to me"? Now, tell me, does this person seem to be on the path to prosperity? Or are they creating a reality where a lack of money is constant? The answer is obvious: And the worst part is, that person could very well be you. Proverbs 18 verse 21 teaches us, death and life are in the power of the tongue, those who love it will eat its fruit. This means that everything you say is building your reality. Words are not just sound, they carry energy and intention. What you say repeatedly turns into a belief. And your beliefs determine your actions. And your actions, in turn, define your results. Now, stop for a moment and think, what has been your daily speech? Do you find yourself complaining about money, saying you never have enough, that the economy is bad, that everything is difficult for you? Or do you say you are capable, that you are learning, that opportunities are showing up? Because this choice makes all the difference. If you convince yourself that you will never have money, guess what? You will create habits that confirm that. But if you start to declare that you are prosperous even before you see the money in your account, your mind will find ways to make that true. I remember well when I learned this lesson. At the beginning of my journey, I was very skeptical. I thought everything depended only on physical effort and hard work. But then, I began to notice something curious. Wealthy people spoke in a completely different way to those living in financial struggles. They didn't talk about scarcity, they talked about possibilities. They didn't complain about the government, bills, or the market. They focused on what they could do to improve their reality. So, I decided to conduct an experiment. For 1 month, I stopped saying anything negative about money. Every time I felt the urge to say, it's difficult, I replaced it with, I'm finding ways to improve my situation. And guess what? In a few months, my mindset changed. My actions changed. And as a result, my results changed too. Science confirms this. Studies show that the human brain has something called the reticular activating system, which works as a filter for information. If you are always saying, I have no money, your brain will focus on reinforcing that reality. When you start saying, I'm learning how to earn more money, your brain will begin searching for opportunities to make this a reality. This is not magic, it's neuroscience. Now, tell me, what are the phrases you've been repeating lately? Are they empowering you or limiting you? Are you programming your mind for abundance or for scarcity? Because believe me, change starts with what you say. So, here's a challenge for you. For the next 7 days, remove all the negative phrases about money from your vocabulary. Replace them with positive affirmations. Instead of saying, I can't save money, say, I'm learning how to manage my finances better. Instead of saying, I'll never succeed, say, I'm on the path to achieving what I want. Do this and watch how your perspective begins to change. The truth is, your words are direct commands to the universe. What you declare with conviction becomes reality. So choose wisely what comes out of your mouth, because what you say today may very well be exactly what you live tomorrow. Your mindset defines your reality. It doesn't matter where you are right now, what challenges you're facing, or how distant your goals may seem. What truly matters is what you choose to believe and how you act on that belief. Money, prosperity, and success are not privileges of the few, but rather the reflection of the decisions and habits you cultivate every day. Now, you've already taken an important step. But the journey doesn't end here. If you want to continue climbing another step in your evolution of wisdom and become 1% better than you were before this video, I have something even more powerful to show you. The next video is already showing on the screen, and in it, you'll discover a key principle that can change your life forever. Thank you for being here, for investing in yourself, and for believing in your own potential. I'll see you in the next video. Note, if a monetary amount appears, for example, $100, it would be approximately equivalent to 74 British pounds. This will be written as approximately 74 British pounds, without using numbers or currency symbols. All other numbers, such as times, chapters, or verses, will also be written out in words, not numerals.